Welcome back to the video Darkroom. I had planned to do a video based on Premiere Pro showing the new faster warp speed in the beta application, in the beta version of that was coming through, and I was benchmarking how it is in the 23.5 edition of Premiere Pro against the new beta app, and it was turning out to be much faster. Anyway, before I could get that video released and I was doing my final benchmarking on it, it turns out that Adobe have withdrawn that particular feature. It may well come back, and in which case I will publish my video, but for the moment it is temporarily withdrawn. So rather than have nothing, I thought I would show how to build the little animation that I'd planned to use that you can see just here. This was part of the introduction to the video. I made it in After Effects, and I'm going to show you in this video how to make that animation. Let's look at it one more time. And now let's get started in After Effects to show how that animation was made. We're in Adobe After Effects version 23.5, and there's some building work going on near me, so I hope there aren't too many extraneous noises coming through. Anyway, we're in Adobe After Effects 23.5, and we're just going to create a new composition. So this is the composition window, so I will, there's huge booming going on in the background. I'll try and remove that with noise reduction, so if you don't hear it, that has worked. I'll just call this warp speed. There we go. I want this composition to be about 5 seconds long. That's I've already tested it, so I've got 5 seconds in the duration. I normally do my compositions in 4K, so that's 3840 by 2160, and I'm using a frame rate of 50 frames per second. Let's click OK on that, and we have the composition opened. So I just want to put the text that we're going to use on it first of all. So we just go to the text tool and I'll type in warp. I don't want that to be in all caps. I'm just going to look, just click on it, select it all with Control or Command A. I did want Myriad Pro and bold. Let's just see what we've got also. I don't want that set, so we want it just to be warp as it is. So that's the first line that we've got of our text. I have deselected that layer. I'm going to take the text tool again, and I'm going to type in speed. In this case, I do want it to be all caps, so I'll just click that. I'll just select it all, actually, and I'll just click the all caps. So we've now got it. I'm going to move back just to the selection tool. I'll put that down approximately the same level and move it as close as we want it to that. I can select both of those. Having selected those two words, we can go to align. Now I don't have the align panel open, so I'm just going to go to window and click on align, and it has opened the panel down here. I would actually prefer it to be, I think, possibly up here. But we now have the align panel, and I can align the tops of these two words. So there they are, exactly as we want them. The reason I arranged the top of them was just so that the tops of the capitals would be level with each other, and they're reasonably close but not touching. So that's the way we want them. I'm going to go deselect those, go back to warp, and I'm going to change the color of that. So I would just like the warp to be in red, so I'm just going to click on that. I'm going to click on the fill color, and I'm going to type in FF, it's RGB, so that's maximize the red, and then minimize with 00 and 00 the other two colors, the G and the B. So we'll say OK, and we now have warp in red. So I'll deselect that. We now want to put in the animation. So I want to move to about 30 frames or thereabouts. So let's just move up. You can see the counter on the left, move up. I've now moved to 30 frames. And on the word speed, I want this to lean over to the right in preparation for it speeding off the screen. So what I want to do is add an animation to this word speed. So I want to add an effect. I don't have the effects window open, so I will just click on Window and open Effects and Presets. So we have them here. And if I type in warp, you can see that we have a warp effect. So I will take that and just drag it on to that layer with speed, and I have a warp effect on it. Not exactly the way we want it. We need to just change a couple of aspects of that. So let's go back to around 30. Okay. Let's change the warp style to flag. Let's change the axis to vertical. And let's change the bend to about 15. And that's the kind of way that I want that text to be leading. So let's look at the keyframes for that and see that we can get those set as we want them. So here we're looking at the keyframes. So I want to set that to 15, but I want to do it over about 3 or 4 keyframes. So let's just move by pressing page down about 5 keyframes along the timeline. I've moved 5 along the timeline, and I'm just going to animate the bend property. Let's put in a keyframe for that, and I'm going to move back up the 5 keyframes back to where we were, and I'm going to make the bend to be 0. So you can now see that as we move through those 2 keyframes, the word speed is animating. Okay, that's good. And as we usually do, we'll just select both those keyframes. If I right click on them, I can go to the keyframe assistant and type in Easy Ease. Could have used F9 to do that. So if we just simply play that by pressing the spacebar, you can see that over that period of time, the word speed looks as if it's getting set to run off the screen. Having got itself ready, if we move on about another 5 keyframes, which will be about 1/10 of a second, because remember I'm running on a 50p timeline here, so we really want to then move the position of that. So I'm going to put in a keyframe at that point, which is where we want that to start. I'm just going to animate the position. We've got a keyframe in there, and I want it to move pretty quickly off the screen to the right, so I'm going to move 10 frames to the right to about here, and I'm going to take the position of that of the word speed. I'm going to hover over the horizontal aspect of that position, and I'm just going to run it right off the screen so that it's gone. Okay, I'm going to ease the first of these, go to the keyframe assistant and ease that out. So now if we look at this, you can see that it gets itself ready and then zooms off to the right. Okay, good. So we've got the word speed animating at least partly the way that we want it to. After speed has left the frame, which is, let's have a quick look, is about here, then I wanted to add a flicker effect, like a kind of fluorescent flicker effect to the word warp. So I'm going to add the effect flicker. In fact, I'm going to choose this one, which is opacity flicker out. And I'm going to drop that onto warp as an effect. So let's just open that up, and you can see that we've now got a number of keyframes that are there. I would like this effect to finish a little bit earlier, so we can type U here and then select all of these keyframes and just move them all up a little bit. so that they're finishing around 2.5 seconds thereabouts. Let's have a look at the animation. Okay, that's all working perfectly. Now the whole thing is longer than I want it to be, so I'm just going to pull the end of the work area back to 3 seconds, because that's all I want this to be. Let's just have a look at it now. Okay, it's all good. What I would finally like to do is just add some sound effects to this. I have already downloaded a couple of sound effects from Soundstripe, which is my preferred source for sound effects, music and video clips. So I'm just going to switch to Explorer or Finder, as it would be on Mac. I'm just going to pick this one, which is the whoosh. It's a high short whoosh, and I'm going to just drop that into the timeline. We have that there. Go back here, and I edited the flicker one just to make it a bit shorter, and we'll drop that one back in. Now just going first of all to the whoosh, just going to press home to get back to the beginning here, and I want to go to about 35 frames thereabouts, so let's just go to about 35, something like that, and let that then whoosh start at that point. There we go. And I'm going to go to the neon flicker, and I'm going to move that to about 38 frames. Let's just move the position head to about 38. Well, 39 isn't going to matter. Going to move that to there, and then let's play and see what we get. That's pretty perfect. That is what we want. There's only one final thing that I'm going to do, and that I'm going to just make that whoosh a little bit quieter. We can always bring the level up, I guess, in Premiere if we're putting it in there. So I'm just going to put the audio level down to -5 on that one, because we don't want it to be too excessive. And basically we have now created the animation that we were looking for, so all that remains is to save that and bring it into Premiere. So let's do that now. So simply File, Save, and we've saved it now as WarpSPEED animation. And that's the end of what we need to do in After Effects. Let's now have a look at Premiere and see just how to use that. We're now in Premiere Pro, and I have an empty sequence here called Animate Thumbnail. I'm just going to drag onto that the background part of the thumbnail that I've used for this video, and there we have it. It doesn't have the WarpSPEED animation, so we need to bring in the animation that we've just built in After Effects. So I'll quickly go to Explorer, and in Explorer I will just drag in to the project that file WarpSPEED animation that we just built. Of course that would be Finder on Mac. So as soon as you drag that in, there may be more than one composition within that After Effects file, so it would ask you which one you want to bring in. In this case it's the one called WarpSPEED. I will click OK on that, and it has now been brought in, and it's in our project panel here. So I can take that animation and just drag it onto the timeline. It does have both a video and an audio section, because you remember we added those sound effects to it, and it has appeared here on the program monitor. It's not exactly where we want it, so I'm first of all just going to make sure that I have that selected. I'm going to click on motion, and that allows me then to drag it to the position that I want it to be in, which is just about there. I'd like it to be a little bit larger, so I'm just going to increase it and move it up slightly, and we have it now just exactly more or less where we want it to be. And really that's the entire thing done. So I'm just going to play that. It may not play desperately smoothly because it hasn't been rendered yet, but it didn't do too badly. Let me just do that again. So that's all there is to it. We've now built the animation, we've brought it into Premiere, and I hope that you benefited from this tutorial. If you did, please give it a like, and if you like the kinds of things that we're showing here, then please subscribe to the channel. And if you'd like to see the video of the new warp stabilizer performance when that eventually comes out in the next version or a subsequent version of Premiere Pro, then please subscribe to the channel, and I will be publishing my benchmarking of the new performance of warp stabilizer in Premiere Pro when that is produced, whether that's in version 24 or a subsequent version. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.